Hello and welcome to the first episode of Maddie Talks. My name is Madison and this is my first attempt at a podcast, so don't judge too harshly, please. For this first episode, I'll just do a little introduction to who I am and the NHL teams I like and why I do. So I know that people listening are probably thinking, you can't be a fan of more than one team. Yeah, I see your point, I get it, but I am. So if that is a turnoff for you, then if it gets you mad or judgy, feel free to move on. I get it. But I feel like I do have a reason for liking all four teams. So the four teams I like and cheer for are the Vancouver Canucks. Duh, if you follow me, you know that. Colorado Avalanche, the Winnipeg Jets, and I know people will hate this, but I'm kind of a fan of the Vegas Golden Knights. So I live in BC, so obviously I like them for that reason. I'm not saying everyone in BC has to like them and cheer for them or anything like that. It's just that was the team that I heard the most about. So obviously I grew up watching them, and I don't remember all the events from when I was born in 2000 to about 2009. I do remember the Stanley Cup playoff runs, mainly 2011 and the embarrassing riots that people still attempt to bait us with. So stupid. I actually remember it well because I was in grade six and I was constantly doing my homework downstairs at my dad's desk, which at the time was in the corner of the living room, so I was always near the TV. But as I started high school and started to get busy with basketball and volleyball and soccer and other sports, and in later years coaching basketball and refing basketball, I kind of stopped watching. My first couple of years of high school, I did. But I think halfway through high school, I started to spend a lot more time on my phone, therefore, spending more time on the NHL app and paying attention to scores and other news. So, as I pointed out, I grew up in BC and around other Canucks fans. But there were people and events that caught my attention to other teams. I don't know if that seems weird or anything, but my basketball coach that I'd known since elementary school um, is from Winnipeg, or I think she might have family from Winnipeg. To be honest, I don't completely remember. But she would ask me questions about the Winnipeg Jets, about who would score for first and stuff like that after basketball games had been finished or when I was done reffing 3-on-3 because it was around 7 to 9 p.m. So games would have been done by then. And we would just talk about who scored and little things like that. Um, so for the Colorado Avalanche, I started to like them halfway through high school as well. I was just getting into hockey more and more, and there was just something that drew me to them. Not just one player either, but the whole team. Don't get me wrong, I obviously have my favorite players from the team. People know that I like Makar, but I also like Rantanen, Burke, Burakovsky, Landeskog, McKinnon as well. Taves is a great player too, and Canadians, of course, I like the Canadians, Newhook and Byram. So a lot of people that like more than one team only cheer for one player from one of those teams. Like they have a main team and then they have a side team. For me, it's just I cheer for all of them. None of them are my side team. Um like I'm with the team no matter what happens during regular season or if they lose in the second round of the playoffs, which they didn't this year, so that's awesome. So moving on to Vegas, it's kind of a weird team to like, I know. But my parents have been to Vegas a couple times before I went back in March. So I kind of got into them because of that. My parents picked them over Canucks. Many years of frustration got to them, I guess. So I'm not a huge Vegas fan like I am the Canucks, Jets, and Avs, but I do like Margie, Patches, Carlson, Whitecloud, and Wah, and a couple other players too. For the Jets, I kind of skipped over, but this might be controversial, but Shifley is one of my favorite players. Wheeler, but I realize that those guys aren't exactly great people. But I also like Ehlers and Connor. But anyways, moving on. So Canucks are my ride or die team. I'll always support them through thick and thin. I just love the team. I love the players, and I really enjoyed what Bruce did for the team this season. So I think this last bit of the podcast will just be talking about the Canucks. So a couple of my favorite Canucks players are Horvat, Hughes, Pods, Demko, and Hoglander. I feel like Hoglander is underrated. I hope that's just not my opinion and other people feel the same way. Otherwise, I'm gonna feel like an idiot. um, I just feel like he's underrated because it's due to him not getting a lot of points, but it also sucks how he got injured this year as well. So not many people noticed or took note of what he did last season, but he truly is our workhorse, like Mott was. He does a lot of hard skating, forechecks. He's a good player, and he'll just grow into a better one. And I can't wait for a breakout year next season. So the other players, um, Hughes, Pods, Demko. I just love them because they're noticeable players. Like they're not always flashy. Like Demko has the miraculous saves every once in a while. Pods has nice goals, but and Hughes makes nice plays, but I don't know, I just like them for their overall game. But I love Horvat because he's just so easy to like. I know a lot of people will disagree with that. They'll want Miller over over Horvat, but I'd always choose Horvat over Miller. Um, I know he isn't all about having the highest total in points, but more about the little things, winning faceoffs, going up against teams' top lines, killing penalties, and being out on the power play too. He's just an all-around player that I feel like the Canucks would need to keep and not trade or not re-sign. I don't think they'll find a heart and soul player like Horvat for the price he's at as well. Like players like him will be more expensive. Horvat won't expect too much. I'm guessing like Miller would. Miller would want 7 mil or 8 mil, and I don't think that RGM sees it as Miller's worth that. I just love how humble he is as well. His interviews, he's just a good guy. Um, so I'm not an expert analysis, as we're 8 minutes in, you're probably realizing this. So this is just all my opinions, but I feel, as I pointed out, that we won't be able to find a player like him. Horvat is the last player, I think, on the team that played with the Sedin, so it's kind of like the lessons he learned could translate into the team like no other player could translate. Besser played with them a little bit as well, but not as long as Horvat. He's just I feel like he's the glue right now. Like you lose Horvat, the room is lost without their captain. Like as I said, he's someone who learned from the best of this team in the past decade. Sedins, Tanev, and Edler. Yeah, they're demon, but they were leaders in the locker room. He knows how to work hard. It might just be my bias showing since I love him, but I feel like we should sign him long term. I think he deserves that, and I can't speak for him. But since he mentioned wanting to win a cup for this team, I think he would be willing to take a team friendly deal. But again, I'm not an expert on these types of things. I'm just a hockey fan trying to find out everything I can. So as this podcast goes along, I can make it better. I pointed out how I like Hughes earlier, and I mentioned him as a flashy player. And I just remember when he played his first game, he was just so entertaining to watch. And that assist when he bounced the puck off the back of the net and Bess ended up scoring the goal off the rebound, perfection. He just made an immediate impact on the team and on me, and I know a lot of you out there too. More on the Canucks as a whole. So most of you know that I have a jersey from when I was around, I think, 2 years old, and it's actually sitting inside one of my dresser drawers. Um, and I have Canucks merch all around my room, hoodies, hats, 9 jerseys, which I hope to expand on after the off season and after any trades may be made. I'm kind of hesitant to buy any jerseys right now. Garland is a player I'm looking at. OEL was a player I was thinking about, but I'm not sure about OEL because they may try to get rid of his contract. And Garland, I don't know. They could get a good trade out of another team, but I don't know. I think Garland is worth keeping, especially if we end up trading Miller. You know, I just don't want to lose certain players, but I'm an all-around Canucks fan, ride or die. They will always be my team. I'm guessing some of you listening got this shared, just ended up seeing this because it got shared with you guys by one of my followers. So if that's the case, I'm just going to spend a little bit of time talking about myself. I'm not trying to sound self absorbed or anything like that. It's just, this is Maddie Talks, so I guess you need to know a little bit about Maddie. So I'm 22 years old and I'm currently going to Douglas College working on creative writing, which is part of the arts, language, and literature program. Yeah, I know. If I'm part of that program, I should be speaking a lot better, but clearly I'm nervous. So right now I was debating whether to take a course during the summer, songwriting, and I decided not to, so hopefully I'll be able to get episodes out faster than I originally planned. Um, yeah, I have things besides college, so there might be certain amount of times that are longer in between podcast episodes, but I'm not sure. But a little bit more about me, as I mentioned toward at the start. I helped coach basketball in high school for a few years. I helped coach volleyball a couple times. At my old elementary school, I helped coach in soccer for this reading program, Canada Scores. It was like a couple days a week, it was soccer, and then a couple others, it was poetry, writing, and stuff like that. I don't know, I just really liked it. Plus, I think I got paid for it. Plus, I was coaching basketball at the time as well. So, before COVID, I was just having a great time being active, playing sports, and coaching. It sucks that all had to stop when COVID hit in March 2 years back, I think. So this episode is a lot shorter than I wanted it to be. I feel like I kind of rushed through what I had said to say. But now you know a little bit about me, and I'll give you a clue on what I'm gonna be talking about next episode. Um, I just kind of changed what it was, so I had like a list of things to say that I'm reading off of right now. So what I'm talking about next time isn't gonna be what I wrote down. Um, but just talking about Horvat a little bit more. He played 70 games this season, and in those 70 games, he got 31 goals, which is a career high, and 21 assists that made for 52 points in those 70 games. This was the first season. I know he got injured and didn't play the rest of the season, but it was the first season that he finished plus instead of minus. Plus, it was a career goal total season for him. So, Horvat is improving, and I know that people love Miller, but this is probably a common theme, gonna be a common theme throughout the podcast that I just think Horvat should stay. And I hope people listening do as well, because if not, this will be extremely awkward. Um, but anyways, right now this is Maddie ranting, not Maddie talks. Um, but next episode's announcement will be put out a day or two after this episode goes out. So thank you all for listening. I hope this was up to par with what many of you were expecting. If not, please come back for episode 2. It'll be better than this one, I promise. Anyways, thank you for listening, and I'm out.